without even thinking, just a brief description of this form, and you know where we've been taken to Kanchipuram straight. But this is Kanchi Kamakshi. The Swarupam that he is talking about, irrespective of where he has written it, the first Swarupam that is introduced, this is the 7th shloka of the Saundarya Lahari. Up till now, there is no description of the form. Up till now, it is just about how the power of the goddess. But the first form that he introduces comes over here. And this Kwanat Kanchi is where Shankaracharya's Rahasyam is as to why he titles it as Saundarya Lahari. The idea of Lahari is a flow. Laharam, or whether it is Lahari, whether it is Dhara, they talk about a flow that does not stop. It's not something that briefly flows, then there is a pause, then it resumes again. It is constantly flowing. For Shankaracharya, that's how he views consciousness, that it is constantly flowing. It is a pravaham. That pravaham is not only physically beautiful to look at, that pravaham is sustaining everything else. And that pravaham is the source of life. For him, when he sees the goddess, he does not see a vigraham, he does not see somebody who is seated and is not moving. He sees that Chaitanya Pravaham, he sees a flow of consciousness, and that is why the bells are moving. Because from that consciousness within her, every anklet, every single ornament on her being is shaking with that consciousness. That is also Shankara's beautiful way of bringing the idea of dhyanam into practice. When we do dhyanam of any devata, it's advised to do dhyanam in such a way that you can feel that devata moving. It is not just that devata being static. For example, if you talk about Ganapati, Ganapati is called as Shurpakarna, large ears. But the entire description of that word Shurpakarna means one who is moving those large ears. So when you do dhyanam of Ganapati, you're supposed to imagine Ganapati moving those ears. And there have been people as recent as a few years ago who have written their experiences saying, when I do dhyanam of Ganapati like that, I feel wind blowing across my face. That is the proximity and that is the intimacy with which dhyanam happens. Dhyanam is not just, oh yeah, something in Kanchipuram apart from Kanjivaram saris. It is that massive fascination that, oh, if I see her, I can hear sound. And this happens to bhaktas, that knowingly or unknowingly, they get pulled closer to that. And that is why that word Kwanat Kanchi Rama comes over there. He also says something very beautiful over here, which I will leave as a string now that we will tie up later. He says, Puramathitu aho Purushika. You are the one who belongs to Purusha and who Purusha calls as his self. Puramathitu aho Purushika. You are the ahankaram of Paramapurusha. Ahankaram is not arrogance in this context. Ahankaram is the idea of I. It is that first manifestation from Shiva that he touches upon, but we'll come there a little bit later. Shankara's beautiful formation, if he's describing the goddess over here, he has hinted at the kshetra by saying Kwanat Kanchi. He has just put Kanchi as a hint over there. But if it had to stop over here, if he wanted us to stop at Kanchipuram, he would have stopped there. He didn't. The very next shlokam gives you the address of the goddess, and Shankara is such a visual poet that that address gives you an aerial view of her residence, something that no drone can possibly do. It gives you a complete form of how do you look at this residence of the goddess from above. And that is only possible when you're moving with a non-physical body, when you're moving with some sort of astral body. This idea of her address is communicated in the very, very beautiful words that says, Sudha Sindhor Madhye. So this is what I want you all to imagine, that in the center of an ocean of amritam, of nectar, Sudha Sindhor Madhye, Suravitapi Vati Parivrite. There is an island. So this is Shankara's genius, right? If he has to describe an island, he should talk about the land first. He's giving you an aerial view, because when you see from above, you will first see the water, then you will see the trees. So he's describing the trees first. He's not named the island yet. He says, Suravitapi Vati Parivrite, that it is covered with beautiful, wish-fulfilling trees. Suravitapi Vati Parivrite. Then you zoom in and you will see that it is an island. And it is a dvipa. Dvipa is the Sanskritam word for island. What kind of a dvipa is it? It is an island where every single speck of sand is made up of gems. So it is called as a Manidvipa. Manidvipe Nipopa Vanavati. In that Manidvipa, there is a special enclosure of Kadamba trees. Nipa is Kadamba. Nipopa Vanavati. Within that Kadamba enclosure, so this is now you're literally zooming in layer by layer. First there is a Sahasagaram, then there are about 19 layers within the Manidvipam. In that Manidvipam, there is a Kadamba Vanam. In the center of that Kadamba Vanam, as you go closer, Nipopa Vanavati Chintamani Gruhe. There is a house of Chintamani. This is not the ICICI Bank Chintamani of no Chinta, only money. Chintamani is said to be those stones, those gems where their presence is enough to take care of every chintitartha phaladam, where anything that you think of materializes. Anything that you think of materializing is the idea of sankalpam. It is the idea of this is that place where a thought gets converted into a reality. So this is the idea of that residence from where any thought that originates in this world comes from one central source. And that is the Chintamani Gruhe. And over there he describes the goddess. The goddess that Shankara describes there is not seen anywhere. Her entire presence, she's not seen at the door also, guys, so you can keep your eyes on this side. Her entire presence is it radiates so much of light and tattvam that the goddess can at best be described. And there are two people who describe this goddess that they saw in the middle of Chintamani Gruham. One is Shankara, one is Vyasa. Because it is only people who are that connected. That is why we have a very beautiful shlokam that says, Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam. That Shankara, that is Paramashiva himself came as Adi Shankara, and Narayana himself came as Vyasa. Because if you look at Devi, and we are in Navaratri, so there cannot be a better time to talk about this. All of you are familiar with the Lalita Sahasranamam. Who gave the Lalita Sahasranamam to Agastya? Don't have to look so blankly. I know you know the answer. Hayagriva gave it. Hayagriva is Narayana's Guru Swarupam. Dakshinamurti is the one who writes down the entire Srividya Upasana, the entire idea, the school of thought of Srividya is written down by Dakshinamurti. Hayagriva, Dakshinamurti. Hari, Hara.